Thank you again to the Zimmers for hopping on another episode of Untapped Stories. So I know we were chatting a bit before show, and I found your guys' awesome sports content page online. But maybe for parents and athletes who haven't heard of you guys before, haven't seen your page, if you guys could just give a bit of brief background on who you guys are as parents, what sports you guys focus on with your kids, and just kind of let the audience know what your background's really all about. That'd be awesome.
The main focus of the page is to change the narrative currently with youth sports and really dive into the heart behind really any sport. Baseball is our main focus right now with our older kid who's going to be 12. I've been on the sidelines as a coach wife for a very long time. Our oldest is in the game now and our daughter's just coming up.
I've coached youth sports for a while. Got lucky to play baseball after college. So even when I was home from summers, I would coach the local Babe Ruth team and so forth, and got into some travel coaching with a buddy of mine that asked me to help coaching, and then son got to age appropriate, and that's where I'm at. And I've been doing this for 5-6 years now in the travel world, and mostly just coaching my son's team.
I know I had some questions lined up, and after our research, I didn't realize your son was 12. I got to ask, do you guys have a shot to make the Little League World Series, or is that a pipe dream?
No, I think that's a pipe dream for a lot of
Yes.
people. Yeah, unfortunately, we live in a smaller community.
Very small.
So
Okay.
I think we're only pulling our all-star team roughly is, maybe 24 kids to pull from the two league teams. So small area. Yeah,
Okay.
very small.
Yeah, it seems like the teams that do the best nowadays are like the regional teams. Like the kids don't even know each other. They're like, 30 minutes away, but they all get combined onto one big team. So
Yeah, no, very small here. That's why we dabble in travel, so we can, there's more opportunity for him out there in the travel baseball as far as competitive wise.
I was going to say that's one of my bigger questions. We've had a lot of parents on here and a lot of high-level coaches and athletes that maybe didn't grow up in the exact time that it is now with youth sports, but I think everything pushes parents to travel sports, and a lot of parents love it. Like it's a big weekend event for them. Their child gets really competitive gameplay, so it's a good thing. But how would you rank from what you've seen doing competitive versus parents who just want to stay local and not go that extra step?
To each their own, is what I say. My son, he's doing both. He does Little League. He's playing with his buddies, and then he's got his other buddies that he plays travel ball with, that he's been playing with for 3 years now. And all of us families have been together. And like you said, it's an event. When we go away on a weekend trip, it's fun. It can be like several mini vacations.
Yeah.
Tied with a little bit of baseball.
That's a good way to think about it, though, because I think if you're going to actually spend the time and the money too, let's be real. I mean, you have to enjoy it. There can't be any part of you as a parent or an athlete that doesn't want to go. But if everyone's bought in and it's a good family time, I mean, I think the only issue we've seen with parents is when they feel like it's a necessity to get their kid to the next level. Like there's no local options. They can't, stay within the state at least and still get competitive sports. I feel like that's when nowadays you hear parents complain about the issue of travel. But if everyone's in, I mean, it can be a really good thing, I think, for the athletes and the families. So
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. And what about you, Kayla? I know you're the one kind of running the page and you come up with a lot of the good content, but maybe for baseball moms out there who they have a kid in T-ball and they, it's really cute and fun now, but when your child gets to a competitive age like 11 and 12, what's one thing you've learned along the way that really, maybe nobody warned you about, but you picked up on as time's continued?
The biggest thing I learned was honestly, how much heart you end up handing over to the game. No one warns you, all the feels that you feel as a parent on the sidelines, because, our kid is pretty much our guinea pig. So we're learning, to be sports parents while he's learning to be an athlete. There's no handbook for this. You grow with them. You know what I mean? You can prepare schedules, you can prepare the travel, the cost, but no one prepares you for the emotional part of it. Because you want it for them. You see how hard they work, but you also want them to have fun.
What about in those really tough moments? So say if your son, and maybe it has or hasn't happened yet, but if a big plate happened and he got thrown out, or if he struck out in a big moment, how do you handle that as a parent on the sidelines now? When I think, again, I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s. Parents wouldn't even think to step in and try to handle or get involved. But do you as a mom on the sidelines, do you want to get involved and kind of talk to your kids as they're playing, or do you stay fully hands off and let the kids play and then maybe have, a chat after the game in the car?
Yeah, we have a 24-hour rule here. So we stand hands off unless it's real deep. If he's really emotional and you can, as a parent, you can tell when your kid needs you. But if he's absorbing it, we let him absorb it, take 24 hours, and then we have the conversation with him. How he's feeling, how, what happened, all the things.
I like that. So what's maybe for parents who haven't implemented that before, what's the 24-hour rule? You don't even talk about the game afterwards, or it's really just the fun topical stuff and then
the fun topical stuff
Okay.
about the game, the successes, failures, and all that, even really private, because the oldest hears everything and he internalizes everything. So if he didn't think he played well and we're talking about, one of the kids played great this weekend, and he might think because we're not talking about him that he did something wrong, because he is young. So we do the 24-hour rule. We keep those conversations to ourselves. Let him speak. If it's a bad game, he's quiet. If it's a good game, he's just having fun in the back seat and talking about all of his friends.
I like that. I think it's the best way to handle it. Remember when I was younger too, my mom would only step in for if I twisted an ankle or got injured on the court. But besides that, parents, I really don't think, and it sounds like you guys agree, so I don't mind saying it, I don't think parents should step on the lines and really interact. I've seen it just go so south when a kid, boy or girl, is always turning to their mom or dad when they make a bad play or when they have an issue. And then what happens when you're in high school and you literally just can't do that or you won't play. So I think teaching that early is really good for kids, and it sounds like you guys are in the same mindset, which is great. So
yeah,
and I kind of have I do that with my players, and I've gotten lucky with the group of families that I've had the same families mostly for 3-4 years, and I'll say it loud enough so the dad will hear it, and I'll tell the player, hey, stop looking at your dad. Stop looking at your dad. He doesn't want you looking at him, and it's tough because the kid is looking for approval. And they want to see their parents' reaction, whether it's good or bad. Trying to keep it as, hey, this is your time. You stay on the field, do what you got to do. You'll go to your dad after the last hour.
that's the best way to do it. I remember when I was young, I think I was 8, I maybe looked at my dad one time, and in the middle of the game, he looked at me and said, what the hell are you looking at me for? He's like, go play. So I said, okay, never looking at dad again. I got that lesson pretty early. I guess for the more baseball, topical side of things, we had a guy on a couple weeks ago, Tom Grandieri, awesome guy, played baseball at Penn. He coaches high school now, and he said that, and I'm not as involved in day-to-day baseball, but it kind of took me by surprise, that so much of Little League, Babe Ruth, and especially high school nowadays, all the kids are so focused on data, stats, launch angles, how hard do you throw, versus when I was growing up, it was just, hey, did you have a good game? Did you win? Can you talk parents through how to handle that nowadays when kids just know so much more about the game and about the stats, and when you're really just trying to have them focus on getting better every day and not worrying about that noise?
Yeah, I mean, for me specifically as, coach and instructor, I usually am working with a lot of the younger kids, up to 12U, 13U kids. I don't really get into launch angle and things like that. I mean, launch angle specifically, in my opinion, can lead hitters down the wrong path,
100%.
Mechanics and so forth. And I'll use, some data, exit velocity, throwing velocity, if we're working on something and we're working on a specific, portion of their swing and they get it. And then all of a sudden we'll go back in and we'll show them, hey, look, your exit velocity increased because we've been working on A, B, and C, and this is the result. And that usually brings the excitement a little bit back more to the player, where they're like, what I'm doing, my hard work is paying off.
I like that.
So I don't dig into that right now with my group. I mean, again, they're 11, going to be 12 years old. It's not a topic at all. But there's the right place for it at the youth level. But obviously, as you get into high school and more into the college and 100% the pros, there's a place for it.
Makes sense. What about parents who, maybe on the more fun side, but still baseball, parents who are worrying about kids in gear? And I've seen it because I coach baseball or basketball teams. And then whenever baseball season happens, all the kids are talking about they'll have their own bag, their own bat. Everyone's got, a million different things. How can parents maybe who don't have that kind of budget to go buy the $500, $1,000 bat? Like, what can they do to still support their child and make sure they're having a good season and get the stuff they want? Like, is there good equipment out there, like resources you guys recommend for parents in that spot who, want to help their kids succeed, but can't buy every single piece of equipment? Because baseball can get expensive.
Yeah. You don't, I mean, these kids nowadays with sliding mitts. I had a kid this fall that told me, he goes, Coach, I gotta look good to play good. I said, well, if that works, then great. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different things that are out there, and it's flashy, and I get it, but there's so much more to the game. But if the kid likes the new sliding mitt, the new training tool or whatnot, and it keeps them engaged in the game, and by all means, the parents have the means to, purchase it and so forth, do it. There's been some things that our son has wanted that I'm like, why do you want this? But when I get it to him, it reignites him a little bit to go play a little bit more and go hit in the driveway. And there's some rewarding things, whether he uses it once or twice, but it helps build that fire or continue that fire that you want them to have and that they have for the game.
That's actually a really good point, because that you think about as a parent and an adult, the money side of things, and do kids really need this or do they not? But especially with today in baseball, I mean, you hear so much noise, and I truly think it's just noise, but I'm sure there's a little bit of smoke where there's fire kind of thing. But they say that baseball is losing its excitement. The younger generation doesn't love it as much as they did 10, 20, 30 years ago. But if a kid isn't excited about the sliding mitt, or they want to get that new helmet which makes them look cool, then if it keeps them playing baseball, I think one of the greatest games ever. I mean, again, if you can do it as a parent, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, because it's such a fun sport and there's so many opportunities for kids to do well with it, and it's such a good social game too. But just going back to the sideline, so maybe more for Mom here, has there been any, whether it's travel or local, like a sideline moment or like a big play, big event, any one of your games that's happened that you will never forget?
I would think, because I asked my son this question too, because I was kind of curious, like, if he remembers some of this. For our first travel team that Chad coached, it was like our son wasn't in the game. We went to Cooperstown, and it was really Brantley's first year as a 8U travel kid, like baseball player. And my first year as like a new parent, and not sitting on the sidelines watching all those seasoned parents at Cooperstown really opened my eyes to what was in store for us, because you go into it thinking, oh, this is so much fun, and then you don't. Like, the reality of it is it's hard. It's hard on them, and, watching them go through all that, because they are going to have good times and bad times. That team treated our son like a little brother. I mean, he was the bat boy. They totally embraced him. They taught him everything. They included him in everything. I saw him fall in love, like, with the game. Like, it really opened his eyes to the game of baseball. And that forever, I think, will hold a place in our heart, because it was such an experience. And he still talks about it today.
So he wasn't even playing, but just through being...
No, he was the bat boy. He's only 8.
That's so cool, though, to have an experience like that as an 8-year-old that makes you love baseball that much. Jeez.
Yeah, and he's excited next season, so it'll be the spring of 27. Yeah. He'll get to go and play.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
At Cooper. So he's excited. He experienced it, as a fan, and then he's going to get the feeling of being the athlete there.
Yeah. Like, he felt everything with that team. Every home run, every setback. He cried when it was over. He was fully upset because, at age 12, a lot of those kids, that's when they start to trickle, to school sports. They get to the bigger fields. So we knew, and we were that's when we learned about those conversations, that he heard us talk about how that team, was probably going to be not the same the following year. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, obviously. Because we went and focused on Brantley at 9U and didn't go back. You know what I mean? We couldn't do both. It was just impossible.
Maybe for parents who don't know, and I didn't play at Cooperstown. I knew what it was, and it's a big tournament every year. But what should parents expect if they have competitive baseball players and they want to try to put their team in Cooperstown? Is it like like a weeks long tournament, or how does that?
Yeah.
How does the whole operation run?
Yeah, so they run multiple weeks. The kids stay in the barracks with the coaches, which is fun. Kind of like a shed with bunk beds. Not that bad, but it's fun. But the experience, I never got to experience it when I was 12. I got to experience it as a coach, and get to experience it again. It truly is something that a lot of kids that I coach, that I still talk to, and players that I know that have been to Cooperstown, they still talk about it. It really is one of those once in a lifetime experiences as a baseball player. There might be 100 plus teams that are in your tournament that weekend. So you're interacting with kids from, all over the country. It truly is just an experience that kids don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like that would be a good answer for this. Maybe something else though, whether it's training or the local aspect of baseball, but for parents out there who have kids that are, what your son was when he was 8, and they love baseball and they think it's a great sport and they want their kid to get involved with baseball, what would you recommend parents do to help their kid fall in love with the game and avoid that trap of, hey, baseball's boring, baseball's slow, I should have my kid in lacrosse and, basketball and soccer because it's fast paced? Like what can you do to activate a kid's mind and get them to love baseball?
I mean, really, for our son, we turned on The Sandlot one day, and that kick-started him. I kid you not, he is fully engulfed in that movie. When he watched it, it really set his journey up. That's when he picked up a ball. We didn't, obviously we had the baseball themed nursery. If baseball was probably given for him, but to start at least. But he wanted it. He's always been super involved. But you would know more about.
It's keeping it fun because, you said, it can be boring. I love the game, and I can't sit and watch a full baseball game on TV. I have to disappear and go do something else. But it's keeping it fun and not a job. Keeping them moving, keeping them engaged. The biggest thing, and I've said it 3 or 4 times now, is fun. Finding that happy medium between development and competitiveness.
Yeah.
Because it can't be a win at all cost, because you lose kids.
Yep.
But as long as it's competitive and the player feels that they're getting better and the parents feel that they're getting better, then, as a coach, as an organization, you've done your job.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. We actually had his Instagram name is Attaboy. You guys might have seen him.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had him on a couple months ago. He was such a good guy, but I think he said the exact same thing 10 times. He's like, I don't care how good you are at baseball. He's like, I don't even care if you know baseball as a parent. He's like, if you can make the game fun for kids, they will come back and play. Because baseball's got there's running involved. I mean, you get to really enjoy each aspect of defense and offense. It's not different than soccer, where sometimes even with young kids, you don't even know what position you are. Baseball is very defined, so you can get creative with it. But I think a lot of parents and coaches, mostly volunteers, so it's never really their fault, but they don't find a way to make it fun. That's where the drop off happens. Yeah. Where it's one coach, 12 kids, they're standing there at practice, and that's, I could see that being a little bit dry for 8 and 9-year-olds. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Quick rec too. I was hooked on baseball as a kid. If your son's that age, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Mickey. Have you guys heard of it? Oh,
no, I've heard of it, but I don't think he's watched it.
If you toss it on, it's about a kid who's 13, but his dad, it's like a kid-friendly movie too, but his dad gets in legal trouble. So his dad has to find a way to make money, and then he bets on the Little League World Series and has his kid stay back a year, and they make it all the way. And it's like a heartfelt thing. The kid's like a big kid, but he's 13 playing. And I watched it maybe 100 times when I was 12, before the Little League World Series year. So if your son wants to find any more baseball motivation, it's a really cool movie.
Soul. He watches all those movies. That he never got into shows like a normal kid. He literally watched The Sandlot, The Rookie.
Yep, it's in that same line. It's less known, but it's good. Good for him though, because I have 2 boys under 3, and the amount of crap on TV nowadays. We don't watch it, but stick to the old stuff. Yeah. It's better for you.
You have to stick to the old stuff.
It keeps the kids not brain rot, but
correct.
Maybe one of the last couple of things here. So again, we have a lot of parents and young athletes who listen to this. So I think at the end of the day, one thing I wanted to hear from you guys was, if you don't mind sharing, so many hours, time, practice, and we all know it as a parent, as an athlete, goes into your playing days when you're a kid. But say if your kid doesn't make college or pro, Hope he does. Hope he has a great career. But the chances for everyone, it's always slim, so people know that. What do you hope they really take away from all this time as a young athlete spent on the baseball field?
I guess where do you begin? Obviously this game is unique in the way that it was created because you're made to fail. How do you overcome failure? And I always use this analogy with my players is, you can be great in this game if you succeed 3 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And I always say, imagine bringing a 30 home to your parents on a math test. Not good. You bring me a 30 or a 3 out of 10 in the batter's box, I'm happy. Finding the way to teach how to overcome failure, body language, and obviously once you get into the real world, that is going to set you apart from a lot of people, workforce and so forth like that. So there's a lot of lessons that you will get in this game.
Yeah.
And it's teaching it the right way, as a coach right now. And that also helps them coming back year after year to play for you.
Yeah, you want to have them be able to take away, the confidence, character, and connection that these sports all give these kids. Let them know that, when they look back, that they felt love, that they felt support. They didn't feel the pressure. I think, that, they take all these things that they learned, how to lead, how to follow with them to the real world, really. Because, let's be honest, the odds of any kid going to MLB is very slim.
Yeah.
So, we really, what they learn from the game and what the game gives them, that's what we want for them the most.
That's the mindset you have to have as a parent.
Yeah.
I've seen people go the other way, and whether it works out or whether it doesn't, it's just a lot of pressure on the kid to think that they have to make it to a certain level or be a certain kind of person. But as long as the off the field stuff is the results that you want, I think it'll allow the kid to play better and ultimately be more calm. I got maybe one more question. I didn't think of this, but you just mentioned it there, Chad, about how when kids are trying to control their emotions on the field. When I was younger, 2 of my best friends, and they were great athletes, could not control their emotions as kids. They were the kids I remember specifically baseball tournaments. We got a second place trophy. They chucked it at the ground, and one kid threw his batting gloves all over the fence, and my dad had to go pick them up. But for situations like that, how do you handle it with a kid in baseball, where it's honestly you think you have a better chance for a kid to have a meltdown because the game's so slow? Right? In soccer, you can't think. Basketball, you're back and forth so fast, you got to react. But baseball, if you strike out, you got 20 minutes until you hit again. So how do you help kids control their emotions in the game?
The game is a big book, and you strike out, then put a K on that page. But when you turn the page, guess what? It's blank. Mm-hmm. You now can go and put your own success on that blank page. And again, it's realizing you're going to fail more, and the way that you handle yourself. And I always tell my players too is, hey, I want you to go and look at another player, another team, and look how they act. What do you think of that player? What do you think of that team? That isn't how we want to be portrayed. And I don't want you to be portrayed as a player as well. And it kind of puts it a little bit into perspective. But using the blank page analogy, like I said, it's you're kind of in control of writing your own success to a certain degree, because you get so many opportunities, in this game, at bats, fields, pitches. Turn the page, it's blank, and look for a new result.
I like that. And you can't get stuck in the past in baseball, or else it's a long game. You're sitting out there for a while. It's going to be miserable for everyone.
Yeah.
Last question. I'm sure your son watches a lot of baseball based on what it sounds like you guys said. Who's an MLB player, or maybe past or present, that you would want your son to emulate?
I mean, if I had to choose, I would be Griffey. Ken Griffey.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, he played.
Everybody wanted to swing. And all the parents, really loved the way he put himself out on the field. How he presented himself.
I think I would second that. Obviously his nickname's the Kid, because he always said I played the game like a kid. Hat backwards. It wasn't well perceived. But it made a lot of kids go to him. Everybody probably had a Ken Griffey Junior swing in the backyard and wiffle ball and so forth. But I've listened to him speak a lot, and that's what he said is I went out and played the game like a kid. And that's the best thing I think parents have to remember is Go play like you're playing wiffle ball in the backyard.
Yep.
You know, and for my group specifically, you're 11, you're 12. You got a long way to go for this game. Have fun. Don't make this a job. You got a long part of your life that you got to work. Don't do it now. Don't do it now.
Yeah, I feel like we have a great group of parents, where they all pretty much stay grounded, like I feel like parents feed off each other's energy. So our parents, naturally, the game's getting tough. I feel like because there's no like outburst, like a lot of it just stays calm. It's calm for the kid. It's a really calm environment. And then if we win, it's great.
I mean, the parents.
If we lose, it's the same. Really, it's the same. Like.
Yeah, it's not football where you can yell at a player and then they can get upset and go hit somebody.
Yeah.
If a kid is mentally checked out, because they feel that they're getting yelled at and so forth like that, you've lost that kid. Whether it was for the game or the season. And then, why is little Johnny not coming back? Well, you as the coach decided to treat this like Game 7 of the World Series. You can't do this in youth. You can't do that in youth sports.
I never got that when youth sports youth sports coaches did that. I mean, the kid has such a long way to go in their career. Like, why make such a big emphasis on one game or one? And I've coached little league teams after college. I've coached a lot of basketball. Always try to keep it fun. The coaches, even if you win the game, but your kids are like drill sergeants out there and they're not even cracking a smile, I'm like, come on, like, you have to bend a little bit. Meet somewhere in the middle. It can't be all jolly lolly. You have to actually, drill and do fundamentals. But the kids are supposed to be having fun. So,
absolutely.
But anyway, honestly, this was such a fun chat, guys. I appreciate you making the time with your busy schedules with kids. And honestly, I think for parents and athletes, there's a lot of good tidbits we're going to be able to share here. So appreciate y'all making the time coming on, and it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.